Hey, what's up, everyone? I was having an interesting chat with someone at work. He's thinking of picking up I'm not sure if it's his first rifle or first one he's had in quite some time. And he's thinking of picking up a 22. And we were talking about 22s, and he was thinking it would be better for him because it's great for target shooting, cheap target shooting. And he said, I think it could also use it for self-defense. And I guess he expected me to kind of say, no, that's kind of a crazy idea. But I told him not only do I think it's a pretty good idea, I use it myself. Now, I have multiple calibers, multiple firearms, and my go-to is basically a 22 caliber rifle. Now, some people might think I'm a little crazy for that. They might say, that's just going to make the bad guy angry or some other ridiculous nonsense. But bear with me for a minute. Now, for one thing, chances are no one's going to ever break in your house. And if someone does break in your house, just seeing somebody there, they might run. Wishful thinking, I know, but it's possible. Next thing is they see some big guy, and I am 6'3", I weigh about 325. So seeing some big guy with a rifle, that might scare them a whole lot, and they might just leave after seeing that. Now, again, you can't count on that happening. But in that situation, I decided to go with the 22 for a whole bunch of reasons. Now, one reason is because I live in a very liberal blue state, and suppressors are not legal here. Now, if I could own a suppressor, my idea might be totally different. There's a lot of other options. I would probably, you know what? I think if I could buy a suppressor, I'd probably buy like a 12-inch 300 blackout, suppress it, and use subsonic ammo. Call it a day. That's what I would probably do. But unfortunately, I don't have that option. So there's a few things I'm thinking about. Number one, I don't want to I do worry about overpenetration. Now, anything you shoot is going to go through walls and stuff. I mean, let's face it, sheetrock, not the best bullet stopper, so it's going to go through. The thing is, it's going to go through a lot less than, let's say, 300 blackout supersonic or a 5.56. I know people say it tumbles and it breaks up its stuff. It's still going to penetrate. It's going 3,000 feet per second. I have a 50 Beowulf. That's going to keep trucking. Now, buckshot, that's pretty good. I mean, wouldn't penetrate as much as a typical rifle round would, so that would be a good option. Birdshot, well, it's not going to penetrate as much as some other things, but then some people would question its effectiveness as far as penetration, only doing maybe superficial wounding rather than something more in depth. So that kind of brings me to the 22. Now, 22 is going to penetrate a little more than some, a little less than others, so it's kind of in the middle there. The other thing I like is that a lot of 22 rounds are subsonic or pretty close to it, especially if you're using a shorter barrel. Now, on the table here, I have the quiet 22 LR that goes about 710 feet per second. I wouldn't use this. This is great for like backyard plinking and stuff because it's not too loud. It's great for that. These two are 1,200 feet per second. 1,200 actually and 1,235. Now that's just breaking the sound barrier, getting that sonic crack. The thing is, these are, I'm pretty sure, measured in a 20-inch barrel. My rifle is a 16-inch barrel, so it's probably not going to hit 1,200 or 1,235. Okay. Another option is to use something like, let's say, a Ruger Charger. I think that has like a 10-inch barrel, so you're probably going to end up breaking 1,000 feet per second, but keeping it below the supersonic realm, so it's a little less noisy inside, because you're going to do hearing damage. Some people might say, I'm going to get my 357 Magnum and just do what I got to do. All right, that's great. Well, your 357 Magnum is a very high pressure round. It's going to be extremely loud indoors, to the point of being disorienting probably, and you got probably between 5 and 7 rounds. There you go. The other thing is, with a lot of people, they might not want to admit it, but you're probably going to be a not so effective shooter if you're under duress. and shooting certain rounds, you might not be as good. I'll tell you, I'm a lot more accurate shooting a 22 than I am a 357 or a 44. Am I awful with those rounds? No, I'm not awful, but I'm better with a 22. And, when you have to hit your target, it's kind of like real estate: location, location, location. I'd rather put one good round and cause one good wound, even if it's a small one, than three or four or five that maybe miss, or are just kind of doing peripheral damage. Something I had learned about 6 or 7 years ago was that Mossad, and if you don't know who Mossad is, check it out. It's kind of like the Israeli version of CIA. They actually used 22 LR Beretta pistols, and they put suppressors on them. And when they had to kind of, take care of business, that's what they would use. It was quiet. It was effective. Close up. There you go. Some people might say you need like a super duper rifle, but chances are, if somebody's causing you an issue from 50 or 60 yards away, you might have trouble claiming self-defense from that distance. Just an idea. So, like I said, so first, to basically summarize what I've gone over so far, any firearm is a good firearm, just having one. Two, I don't feel like you're going to have as bad overpenetration. I don't think you're going to have as much loud noise to cause hearing damage, or have it be any more disorienting as than some other rounds would be. Now, some might argue, well, 22 is 0.22 inches in diameter. What about 45? 45 is more than twice the diameter. That's true, but 0.22 is nothing to really sneeze at, because if you think about it, a 5.56, which is used in war, is 0.223, so it's only 0.003 of an inch wider. Okay, a lot of people think that the 5.7 round is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and then they'll shoot it out of a pistol. Well, 5.7, that's only a little bit bigger than a 5.56, and we all know the 5.56 is a 2.23. So basically, the 5.7 is also a glorified 22. It's true. Look it up. So I got to tell you, I'm okay with the 22. Another argument that people make about 22 is that they say rimfire is not reliable. It's not as reliable as centerfire. And, I'm not going to argue the point that centerfire is as reliable as rimfire. I'm not going to make that argument. What I will argue is that the difference between reliability in centerfire and rimfire isn't as bad as it's made out to be. And I think it can be minimized if you're using good equipment. Now, if you're using a piece of garbage 22 and you're using bulk ammo, and then you're not really in the habit of lubricating and cleaning your gun, well, your gun's not going to be too reliable. Now, when I go to the range to shoot, my favorite 22 pistol is a Beretta Neos. Now, I know if you know what that is, they're kind of weird looking. I will give you that. It's an odd looking little gun. But let me tell you something. It is reliable. I have had some malfunctions with it, but here's the funny thing. The malfunctions I had, I actually tried to create. Let me explain. If I take the Beretta to the range and I clean it beforehand and lubricate it properly, I can fire a couple hundred rounds and basically not have any malfunctions. I might have had a malfunction here and there, possibly. I don't remember them. So, I'll leave open the possibility I have and I don't remember. Okay? But again, I don't remember them. Now, what I have done on a couple of occasions is see how far I can push it. And I'll fire a couple hundred rounds, then I don't clean it or oil it. Then I take again, fire another couple hundred rounds, don't clean it or oil it. I find that after, maybe 600 or 700 rounds, then I'll start to get a malfunction. Then it'll happen. But you know what? That can be minimized by buying a quality handgun or rifle. I have a 10-22 for my rifle, for one of them anyway. 10-22 is the one I keep handy. Use a good quality 22 firearm, maintain it properly, and use good quality ammo. I like this. I'm a big fan of CCI. You know, it's a little bit more money, but it's not a lot more money. So when I go to practice, I do practice with this. I mean, this, in the olden days, let's call those like a year and a half, I think I paid about maybe $10 for 100 rounds of this. So you figure, or maybe like 11. So you figure it probably cost me 10 or 11 cents a piece. This one I just bought recently. I talked about this in a recent video. This ends up costing me like maybe 6 to 6.5 cents a piece. This is bulk ammo. They just basically throw it in a box and say, hey, we got 325 in there, roughly. This one, there's more care involved definitely in the presentation of the packaging. And I'm thinking that there's also a lot more care involved in the creation of this ammunition. That's why I trust it. And I've kind of felt that way over the years, that it's just good ammunition. So if you're buying the high quality stuff, there might still be a disparity between rimfire ammunition and its effectiveness and centerfire, but I think that whatever that advantage that centerfire has over rimfire shrinks. Now, I'm not here with ballistics gel. I'm not here with any of those fancy schmancy torsos that replicate tissue damage. I am not checking velocity and penetration and all this. What I'm doing is just kind of, just sharing some stories about my time at the range and the reliability that I've experienced with 22s. The other thing I like about them is that anybody can shoot them. Like for example, my wife is, she's pretty small. She has trouble racking the slide on a lot of semi-automatics, not the 22. Which is funny because she shoots the 45 awesome. She's an awesome shooter, but she has trouble racking the slide. I have to rack the slide for her. Now, she's okay with revolvers, those 5-round revolvers, 6-round. But she could shoot the 22. Your typical elderly person, I think, is going to be more likely to shoot a 22 pistol than to shoot a 357 or possibly even a 9mm. I mean, it's just the way it is. Especially some people really mess up and buy the smallest possible guns they can, and then they hand it off to small people and women and say, here, it's a little gun just like you. Try and shoot it. And all of a sudden, they got these 380s and 9mm snapping in their hands like crazy. Use the 22. The things are crazy, especially if you put, it's going to sound crazy, but you put like some night sights on or nice fiber optic sights or some really nice white 3-dot sights. I mean, they're really good for target acquisition. And then depending on where you live, it's a lot more likely you can practice in your backyard, because then you can get stuff like this. Try practicing your 44 Magnum in your yard if you're not out in the middle of nowhere. Ain't gonna happen. You're gonna be bugging a lot of people. 22, probably not so bad. The other thing, like I said, is shot placement. To come up with an old story, think about the Miami Shootout. If you don't know about the Miami Shootout, try reading about it, then check out Paul Harrell. He did a really good video about 3 or 4 years ago where he went into detail in the Miami Shootout. They were firing 9mm and 357 Magnum at these two men who were firing back at law enforcement officers. And they hit them several times and they wouldn't go down. Basically, it was shot placement. They had multiple hits. They had multiple hits with what people would call solid rounds. I mean, 357, no one's gonna say that's a lousy round. They hit them with 9mm. Come on, law enforcement carries 9mm. They carry it for a reason. Same thing with the military. It's an effective round, but still they were not going down. You know what? Remember, Mossad used 22s. Makes you think. So the idea of using 22 for self-defense makes sense to me. It really does, because like I said, it'll be a little quieter because you don't want to go deaf after you fire your first shot, and then you might not be able to hear intruder 2 and 3 coming in. So that's one good thing. Second of all, it's less likely to penetrate 18 walls in your house and hit the neighbors across the street. We don't want that happening. And like I said, shot placement will be easier. And you know what? If you don't believe me, get a 22, shoot a 22 from 25 yards, then try and get like, I don't know, a 40 Smith & Wesson, a 44, or 357, and shoot those from 25 yards. Recoil does matter. Now, some of us are fantastic at managing things like that. I would say I'm about average. So, one of you might be a very, very gifted shooter, and you might say, well, I can shoot a quarter-sized hole at 25 yards with a 44 Magnum. That's awesome. I can't. I can get by, but I can't. 22, I'm pretty good though with the 22. I just am. I don't know. So that's really the best decision for me. And like I said, the big thing is shot placement. And I'm talking about shot placement, and I'm thinking about people who say, it's not a dangerous round, and I hear people say that more people are killed with 22 than any other round. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm even kind of reluctant to repeat it because I don't even know where the genesis of that statement came from. But I remember a few years ago there was a college student from Australia. He was visiting some friends in Texas. He's just jogging down the street, minding his own business, and some men were in a car, and they thought it was funny. They had a 22 and they were fooling around, and they fired a random shot at him. One random shot hit this very healthy, athletic college student, hit him in the back. He dropped, he died. Almost immediately he was dead. And these are people who weren't even aiming, like really aiming probably. It was from a moving car. So I mean, it is it could be a lethal. It is a lethal round, and it's to be respected. And I think if you're going to use it for self-defense, it's great as long as you make those, those sacrifices to make sure you're buying top-notch ammo, a top-notch firearm. You're maintaining it like it should be maintained. And the third thing that I would add is if you're going to use magazines, use the best magazines you can. So if you're using, like, say, a Ruger 1022. Use 1022 magazines. I can understand if you're gonna go, plinking in the yard or go to the range, you might use like the Butler Creek magazines. I've heard those are pretty good. But like stuff like Pro Mag, it's junk. Don't use it. Use the good stuff. But I mean, if you have like solid mags, especially, like for 1022 Ruger, Beretta makes awesome 22s. In my opinion, I've heard great things about the Smith & Wesson Victory, Ruger competition pistols. This is going to sound really crazy, but if you got a ton of money and you also like target shooting, Volquartsen. That's right, I said it. So there's a lot of good options out there, and it gives you something to think about. And for people who live in your house who might be a little reluctant to, maybe pick up that Colt Python that you have, maybe they won't mind picking up, a little Beretta or like kind of like a mid-size Colt Victory or Browning Buckmark, something like that. And then they'll witness, look, there's like almost no recoil at all. And, it's kind of like something that doesn't require, a lot of strength or brute force or expending a lot of energy to do, and it's not something that might make them nervous. It's kind of something almost calm, and I think it helps emphasize the skill needed when you're shooting a 22. So just a few things to keep in mind. And for those of you who also enjoy using 22, maybe it's a few arguments you can throw at the tactical guy who says to you, you gotta have an AK-47 and a 10 millimeter. Well, no, you don't have to. I mean, if you could, if you want to, but I'm happy with the 22. I think it's good. And for all of you, if you like this video, hit the like button, please. If you don't like the video, still hit the like button. Thanks a lot. See you later.